Hey, shalom, shalom, man. Hey, Pastor Corey here, on the way in the city with the crew, and gonna do a little hanging out. About to go to the gym, and just excited, about what's going on. We had a very, very powerful message yesterday called Yakao in the latter day. All right, and it's a very powerful message. I'm gonna bring you guys up to speed, try to get it uploaded, for you. But, before we do that, everybody say shalom, shalom.
Shalom.
Hallelujah, hallelujah. That's my crew back there, so. But anyway, we were pointing out some key things in Genesis chapter 49, particularly about Judah, and also in Numbers chapter 24. And what we were pointing out was that, first of all, when we look at the likes of Christianity and we look at religion, because I want to just bring this short point out and then I'm going to let you guys go. But when we think about when Jacob called all his sons together, he said, "Come, gather around so that I can tell you what shall befall you in the latter days." All right, and when you look up latter or last, both of them are Hebrew 3:19, all right, meaning the end, the hindmost part. All right, so he was definitely talking about what's going to befall not them, but their descendants in the end. All right, and so now when you talk about that, there was a definite reference to the Messiah in Genesis chapter 49 when he talked about Judah, and it was also a definite reference when Balaam was explaining to Balak when Balak was trying to get him to curse Israel. And so he also told of what shall befall his people in the last days. And he also mentioned one as the liken to the Messiah, just as when Jacob was talking to his sons and he was referencing Judah, he also talked as one as having the likeness of the Messiah, which we know that's who he was talking about. But my key point is when you take the reference of the Messiah out of that, the key point was that the Messiah was coming to redeem his people. And so when we saw that Yeshua said in Matthew chapter 15 verse 24 that I have not sent but to the lost sheep of the house of Yisrael, then the whole thing was about the fact that you have the Messiah telling this woman that he was only sent to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Now, that wasn't a point to say that, hey, I'm only sent to the house of Israel, more than it was a point to say that I was a promise for Israel. And it started when Jacob was talking to Judah about what was going to befall them in the last days. And so then when we take this whole notion that Jesus was sent for Christianity, and we take it and we make him blue eyes, blonde hair, and we make him passive, and we make him not really the Lion of Judah like he is, but we make him out to be something else for people who really don't care about the Hamashiach, then we got a problem. And that's the whole thing. And so then we end up having a people who have this distortment about what the Bible is about, because now we have this pretext of misunderstanding, this pretense of misunderstanding rather. And even in that teaching yesterday, I was so excited. I was just talking, and I said Jesus was crucified around 63 AD, but it was really 33 AD that he was supposed to have been crucified. From what I understand, that's out there, that he was born, around 0 or 1 AD and was crucified around 33 AD. And so I'm gonna make sure I make a note of that, in the comments section. Because I know people like to jump all over everything. They hear you say something and they listening intently, so you can be destroyed in what you say. But Yah knows the intent of my heart, and He knows what it is that He is projecting in His Word. And so we sometimes get excited and say things. That's what it is. Because those of y'all that know me, you know me by my fruit. You don't know me by the flesh, all right? And so, that's what we should be. When we're knowing the brethren, knowing them by their fruit. But anyway, continue with what I was saying. And I want to come on and say this because the whole gist of what I'm talking about is that it changes the dynamic. When we understand it from a Hebraic mindset, it changes the dynamic of what the sons and the daughters and the whole house of Israel should be doing in this latter day. Because it was a word given for us in this latter day that we should be tentative to. And see, you couldn't be tentative to it because of where you were in religion, where you were with the lack of knowledge that you dealt in. And so we know in dealing in a lack of knowledge, that's very much that you understand. And then when you lack understanding, then you set yourself up for death. Because the word also says, my people perish for a lack of knowledge. And so here now, finding out who we are, gaining access to the things that was hidden from us, gaining access to very powerful information that really links us to events that are historical, sets a great precedence on now gathering those who have an ear to hear. And once we hear, now we got to go back and comb the scriptures and know what was said to our forefathers concerning us. And that's one of the things, because here is the point I want to bring out about it. See, in the latter day, it's for Jacob seed to start to gather themselves to righteousness and to gather themselves to a place where they no longer are going to assert themselves in paganism. They no longer are going to assert themselves in passivity. We're no longer going to just accept circumstances, but we rightfully take our place physically and spiritually. From a spiritual standpoint, we begin to war with the words of our Father that's in the Shemaim. We begin to know how to take a stance from that standpoint, war for our families. We learn how to war from a standpoint of not allowing wickedness to break down our barriers, because we understand the authority that we have over the enemy. From a physical standpoint, we begin to withdraw from the facets of the world that are false, that are vain, these things which lead to nowhere, where people are going to constantly be perishing on this wide and broad path that leads to destruction. So we as men, we gather to ourselves our family, and we gather to the brethren to become a strong wall, both in prayer and in strength, in body. And we start taking stance on things. See, let me tell you how to equate this. Give me 1 second. All right, I'm back. Let me tell you how to equate this. See, when you have men like us that's returning to this heritage. This is why this is important to know. This is why you got to understand this. Because you have to understand that we've grown up in the rearing, the educational systems, the philosophies and the thoughts that we presume to be right. And so in that, then that's how we approached the world. That's how we approached our belief and faith in what we classified as the God in heaven. But come to find out, we wasn't even serving Yah. Matter of fact, we didn't even know him. Because the word says that if one says that he knows me and keep not my commandments, this one is a liar and the truth is not in him. I remember when I first heard that, it blew my mind. I'm like, wow. And so then I can equate that because I was talking today. Because as men, we got to begin to make a choice on how we're going to come back. Because here's what you got to understand about the Heavenly Father. He's the greatest Father of them all of us. Why? Because he's firm and he stands on his word. He have taken a stance and he doesn't break. He doesn't bend like us. And so that is what he expects out of his children. He don't want us to accept bribery for burnt offering, meaning that we start accepting things because we know people or we have a love for them or we care about this person. And so what the Most High desires for us all, that we can relax between us because I care about this person more so than if I see another person doing it, then I'm allow them to do or get away with a little more, or I let somebody, give me gifts or soothsaying or give me good words and I receive that instead of bringing righteousness to the light in their lives so they can turn away from wickedness. No, you can't be like that. So the Father is the greatest example of setting that, before us. And so then when it comes down to where we are, when we start to see the standards that's set in Israel, then we miss it. All right? We miss it. And I'm going to make this last point and I'm going to get on off of this. But in the conversation I was having, it was pertaining to the fact that we have to know that the standard is set. And as we grow in this, there's things that we have not yet dealt with that's a standard that the Father accepts, but it's hard for us to accept. At that point, we choose to either go back or we choose to go forward. And so as men, this is why we got to be prepared in what's going on in this breach that has, been brought upon Israel, and us being the sons of Jacob who are coming back to repair them through the wisdom and the knowledge that Yah has given us. Then we got to be prepared to accept all of it, everything, as we grow in the grace and the knowledge of Yahshua HaMashiach, so that we are not lost, but we gain life, that we be those whom the world shall soon know to be the sons of Yah. Hey, I just wanted to encourage you. I'm going to try to get that video up for you guys. You can go ahead out there and get a peek at that. I had a really, really good time yesterday. Just growing. Hey, and I encourage you all, don't let nobody come with all this foolish doctrine and just, philosophies and vain deceits pulling you out of the way. Hey, I'm Pastor Corey with the Straightway Ministries in Straightway, Kansas City. Hey, I want to see you and you in the kingdom. Hey, you be blessed. Shalom, shalom.